Do you know what Google, Starbucks, and TikTok have in common? None of them had an original idea. The truth is, you don't need an original idea to be creative or to win. And through thousands of hours studying what makes brands win, I've learned that creativity doesn't really matter. You just need to know how to stand out. So these are the 4 strategies that you can use to stop chasing original ideas and finally start winning. But first, let's break down why creativity doesn't actually matter, and it all has to do with something I like to call the pioneer's curse. Creativity is overrated. Here is what the biggest brands in the world actually do to succeed. So there's this saying, pioneers get the arrows and settlers get the land. Now, it's dark, I know, but it captures the secret, brutal truth about innovation. The same truth that made Google the most successful search engine in the world. Now, think about the search engines before Google. Does anyone remember Alta Vista? It launched in 1995, way before Google existed. Then Yahoo came along and actually bought Alta Vista, only to shut it down later. So these were the pioneers. They figured out search technology, spent millions on development, and educated the market about why they needed a search engine in the first place. And then Google showed up and just dominated them all. And this isn't an isolated event. This pattern repeats everywhere because being original is brutally expensive. You are paying to learn all the early mistakes while everyone watches and then learns from your failures. So when you want to start a business or sell a product or service, stop asking, is this original? And start asking, how can I stand out with an idea that's already proven to work and make money? The first strategy to do that is to win with better branding. Starbucks built a $1 billion empire with someone else's beans and someone else's store layout. Now, here's how it happened. So Peet's Coffee had been around since the 1960s. They had the specialty coffee thing figured out decades before Starbucks existed. They pioneered the whole concept of making coffee cool and premium in America. So when Starbucks came along in the 70s, they literally copied Peet's store layout with, permission, which is good to know. But here's the crazy part. They even sold Peet's coffee beans instead of Starbucks beans in the beginning. They weren't trying to hide what they were doing. They just said, hey, we're going to take this proven concept and we're going to brand it better. And that's exactly what they did. Starbucks had a much better brand. They expanded aggressively. They did more than just coffee. They created the third place concept, the mobile app, the rewards program. They turned a commodity product into a lifestyle brand. Now, Peet's has a cult following among, coffee purists, but Starbucks continues to own the market. They are the default choice. They're what people think of when they think of coffee shops. Now, this is the power of branding over being first. Peet's had a 10-year head start. They had the product knowledge, the roasting expertise, and the credibility. But Starbucks understood something that Peet's didn't. Branding is everything. The lesson here is that you don't need a better product to win. Sometimes you just need a better brand. And building a better brand is often easier and cheaper than building a better product because brand is about perception and storytelling, and that's pure marketing strategy and execution. In a saturated market, stop trying to out-feature competitors. Study what the market leader's brand makes people feel, identify what's missing from that emotional experience, and then build your brand to basically fill that gap. Use storytelling, positioning, and identity to differentiate when the product can't. Strategy number 2 is to win with a better product. So Twitter owned Vine. They had short-form video content figured out years before TikTok existed. Vine was popular, it was fun, and people loved it, but Twitter shut it down in 2017 because it wasn't taking off the way they wanted. Then along came TikTok with literally the same idea. Short vertical videos you just scroll through endlessly. Nothing original about the concept. But here is what TikTok did differently. They had a stellar algorithm, genuinely better than anything else out there. It learned what you liked very fast, and it kept you hooked. They also had music licensing solved, which made creation just a million times easier. And they actually incentivized creators with funds and features, so the best creators just flocked to the platform. So it's the same concept as Vine, better execution, and now TikTok is worth over $100 billion and growing while Vine is dead. This is the path to winning. You don't need a new idea. You need to identify what's already been proven and then build a genuinely superior version of it. The key word here is genuinely. You cannot just slap a coat of paint on something and call it better. TikTok's algorithm really was better. The creator tools really were more robust. And their incentive structure really did attract better content. They didn't win because of marketing or branding in the beginning. They won because the product was undeniably superior. Here's how to use this strategy. Find an existing category with a proven product that's been done poorly. There are a lot of them. Look for what people complain about in the current market leader. Could be missing features, a clunky experience, poor execution overall, and then build the version that it should have been. The next strategy is the one Apple used to become one of the most disruptive and recognized brands of all time. It is this: positioning against the competition. Apple's Think Different tagline is one of the few slogans that's permanently tied to a brand identity. But here's what nobody talks about. IBM was the leader in personal computers. They had the mainframe business, they were moving into personal computers, and they practically owned corporate America. Their tagline was Think. Clean, simple, corporate. Apple didn't try to come up with something completely original. They took IBM's message and said, okay, but what if you think differently? Steve Jobs took this a step further by fighting to make it Think Different instead of Think Differently, because the whole point was to be grammatically rebellious. So it became this iconic representation of Apple as the alternative, the outsider, the creative's choice. Now, this strategy is positioning. Apple wasn't trying to be original, they were trying to be the alternative, and that's actually easier than being original because you're essentially copying, you're borrowing the market leader's brand awareness. When you position against a competitor, everyone already knows who the competitor is. By saying Think Different, Apple is essentially saying, we're not IBM, without having to explain who IBM is or why someone might want something else. The market already understands the landscape. You're just claiming your side of it. Now, this also taps into something psychological. So people just love underdogs and outsiders. Harley-Davidson built an entire empire on being the rebel brand. Jeep did the same thing. You don't have to invent the concept of being the alternative. It is already a proven positioning strategy. You just have to own it for your industry. Look at what the market leader is saying and then position your brand as the explicit opposite. So if they're enterprise, you're personal. If they're feature heavy, you're simple. If they're corporate, you're rebellious. Borrow their brand awareness by positioning directly against them, and then make the contrast impossible to miss in your messaging. The last strategy is the fastest and cheapest way to dominate when you can't change the product or outspend the competition. It is winning with brand voice. This crazy study on bottled water proves you can sell anything with the right strategy. So there was a study on bottled water years ago where they took the exact same water and put different labels on it with different brand voices. Voices like rugged, sophisticated, playful, neutral. The crazy part is nobody bought the neutral one, but all the ones with personality, even if people, disagreed with that personality, those sold. This proves that people need brands to have a point of view in order to help those people make decisions. Neutral is forgettable. Neutral is invisible. Even if 30% of people hate your brand voice, you're better off than if 100% of people don't remember you exist. Liquid Death proved this at scale. They sell water in a can. There were other waters in cans when they launched, so they could have been knocked off pretty fast. But their brand was so strong, so distinct that the product almost didn't matter. They sold attitude, not hydration. And that voice built them into a $1.4 billion brand on canned water. And here's the beautiful part. This costs almost nothing to implement. You're not retooling your product, you're not rebuilding your service, you're not outspending anyone on very expensive ads. You're just changing how you sound, which is completely in your control. This is the path when you don't have resources for product development or millions for branding campaigns. You just need to be bold. Choose a bold brand voice that resonates with your specific audience. Study what they already respond to. Pick an archetype like hero, outlaw, caregiver, explorer, and then commit completely. Be willing to alienate some people in order to deeply resonate with your target market. When you can't compete on product or budget, compete on personality. If this has changed how you think about creativity and originality, hit subscribe so you do not miss the next video. And if you want to go deeper on building a distinctive brand voice and talking like the 1%, watch this video next.